Hello and welcome back to Hakai YGO. Today I'll be doing deck profile on my Synchron deck, and I hope you enjoy this. First we'll start off with the main deck. For the tuners, I am playing 2 Jet Synchron, 1 Assault, 1 Rev, and 2 Starter Synchron. In the deck, the combos mainly go with the Jet Synchron, and all the others are gotten out of the deck with the Junk Speeder, but there are other combos involved where if your hand ain't as good, you can still combo off. Moving on to some of the one-offs before I go into the main part of this engine, which is 1 Trail, because it is gotten from your Starter Synchron, 1 Junk Servant, as it's gotten from your Jet Synchron, and 1 Griffin Rider to go with the other couple of packages I'm playing in this deck. You got 3 Water Enchantress, as it is best discard fodder, and it allows me to do a 2-card combo with Jet Synchron, or other Synchrons for that matter. And then 3 Fenrir, as it also allows me to do some 2-card combos, which I will be showing at the end of the video. And then Diabellstar. It's not a cheap deck, but it is a fun deck, and it's personally one of my favourite decks I've played in this game. Moving on, we've got Hand Trapped now, playing 3 Ash, 2 Nib, 3 Imperm. Playing these hand traps are just the easily accessible ones. I might be changing out Nib for Ghost Ogre, as the meta is calling for it, as Tempai and the Ubel deck are both very hurt by having Ghost Ogre against them, and there are other generic decks out there that also get hurt by playing Ghost Ogre. Moving on to next, we have the spells. I'm playing 3 Overtake, as it's my E-Telly for my Jet Synchron. 3 Wanted, as it allows me to get to my Diabellstar. 3 Right Around Mace, as again it allows me to go my entire adventure combo. And those are my 3 ofs. As for the 1 ofs, got 1 Joker back, 1 Fateful, 1 Original, 1 Starless Illumination, and 1 Synchro Rumble. It's nice and simple. Then moving on to the extra deck, we got 1 Junk Speeder, allows me to summon 4 tuners from my deck. We then have Jet Warrior. He allows me to be an interruption going second to start bouncing stuff on the board, or it is used with my Synchron Overtake to reveal and summon my Jet from my deck. Excel Synchron can be used in a couple of the combos to be able to make stuff like Disbatter, to be able to make cards that I don't have easy access to. And then Hyper Librarian, as my main combo, allows me to draw 4 cards while still putting up interruptions and hand looping. 1 level 4 being the Herald of Arclight, as I can make it with the adventure. 1 Starless Charge Warrior. It's nice to have the draw, it hasn't come up much. F8 Non Dragster is the spell trap negate that if I have to deal with stuff like back row decks, I have got a way to make multiple back row negates. Then into the main part of this engine, Stardust Dragon, to pair with the Excel. The Excel is what allows me to do a lot of my combos that allow me to go off in this deck. 1 Crystal Wing, 1 Omega. That's it for the level 8s. Then got 1 Crocosaur. Nice to draw a card and also be able to pop 2, being able to do a back row a lot easier. 1 Disbatter. 1 Crystal Clearwing, which is my target for the Crimson Dragon, so I can copy the Disbatter's level to make a Crystal Clearwing. And Crimson Dragon also is an extender in this deck. Now, moving on into the combos. All I need for this first combo is Diabellstar plus any face-up card. It can be Fenrir, it can be continuous spells and traps, it can be pendulums, it doesn't matter. It just needs a face-up card plus itself. So I can go push some of the Fenrir to add another Fenrir. I can then discard that Fenrir to summon out the Diabellstar. And then the Diabellstar's effect triggers to set the original Sinful Spoils. And now it doesn't matter which one I send here because they're both going to achieve the same result. I normally send the Diabell Star in case I'm playing into boards, as it will allow me to play around cards by using the Fenrir's effect, because otherwise the Fenrir will leave the field otherwise. And so here, I summon the Jet Synchron. Obviously, this deck is not the best going second, but it is a really fun deck to play at the same time. I use the Jet and the Fenrir to make the Axel Stardust, triggering a chain of chain 1 chain 1 Jet Synchron, chain 2 Excel Stardust. It doesn't matter which way you want to play around it. This you can trigger second to go and play around Bell, or if you already know that Ash ain't a thing, you can trigger the Jet Synchron second to be able to add, as it will play around the Ash. So I'll go, because I've obviously played Diabell Star, I played the Castillo Fenrir, it's better just to go Excel 1, Jet 2. Jet will add me any junk monster, and so I can add the brick in my deck, being the junk servant. And then the Excel will bring back the Jet Synchron. I can then, because I haven't used my normal summon, which is why the combo needs you to send a face-up card, I can normal summon that junk servant. Tribute in off the Excel to trigger its effect to summon a Stardust from my extra deck, and then Synchro Summon using monsters I control. I can then Synchro Summon into the Junk Speeder. The best part about doing this combo is the fact that I get the cards to become unaffected by activated card effects, which is a nice way for them to want to hold their hand trapped to this card and then realise they can't do anything about it. It will then summon 4 tuners from my deck. One being Synchro Stardust, one being Rev, one being Assault, one being the other Jet. And then you can trigger the Stardust Synchron on summon to add the Stardust Illumination. Now, these two are unaffected, but the rest of these aren't. So the first thing I want to do is be able to put up a level of protection by putting a Crystal Wing on the board. It also then gives me the space to activate the Stardust Illumination, which would send the Stardust Trail, but because I control a Stardust monster or a monster that mentions Stardust, I can special summon it instead. And then from here, there are so many different combo lines I can go down, but one of the nicest and simplest ones I can go for is using the Trail and the Jet to make... My apologies. To make the TG Hyper Librarian. I can then use the Stardust Synchron and the Stardust Dragon to make the Crimson Dragon, allowing me to go Chain 1 Hyper, Chain 2 Crimson. The Chain 2 Crimson will get me Synchro Rumble, which is a monster reborn for Synchros and Tuners, whilst also the TG Hyper Librarian will allow me to draw a card. I'll just use hand traps for this example, as it could be anything. We haven't used our adventure engine, we could draw into that engine and therefore use that engine to make even more board interruptions. I will then use the effect of Synchro Rumble, bringing back the the Stardust Dragon, which will allow me to Synchro Summon and make a Dispatter, but as the Stardust is a dragon, giving me another draw off the TG Hyper Librarian. I can then go Crimson Dragon effect, target the Dispatter, put himself back to the extra deck to special summon a dragon with the same level. So I can summon the Crystal Clear Wing, and because this counts as a Synchro Summon, I get to draw another card. Next, because our graveyard is stacked with loads of different cards, we can use the effect of the Stardust Synchron, tribute the Dispatter, to summon itself back. This will in turn trigger the Stardust Trail and the Assault Synchron. So the card I care about more is the Assault Synchron. So I'll go Chain 1 Assault Synchron, banish it, to target the Dispatter, Chain 2 the Trail, to trigger itself to be able to special summon itself. So I'll special summon back the Trail, and the Assault will special summon back the Dispatter. And then after this, the cards that the Synchron, the Stardust, will leave the field, and because they do, they get banished after special themselves back from the graveyard. I can then make an Omega, which again will trigger me to draw a card. So I've drawn 4 cards from a 2-card combo. Not to mention, if I started off with Wanted, I can draw another card from that, so it puts me back at a 5-card advantage after using 2 cards. And then I can use the effect of Omega, hand rip one. So that is one card looped from their hand. Use the effect of Disbat to bring it back. And then hand loop another card from their hand, putting them down 2 cards out of their hand, which is essentially the same as having an extra 2 interruptions on your board. You just don't have to deal with them afterwards. And then one of the last cards I can trigger is the Jet Synchron. The Rev Synchron, which can mill a card to special summon itself. And again, with this deck, you can also mill the Adventure Engine, as you can use the Water Enchantress in the graveyard to get into the entire Rite of Aramesia package. I haven't used my normal summon effect, so it allows me to be able to use that package. But yeah, I'll go, say, mill one for intent purposes, I milled it in perm. Just press summon it back. And then the last thing I can do, as I'm still waiting to see if there's any level 6 synchros worth making after this. I do like the idea of using the Adamancipator one, as it is a DD Crow, but for now, I'm using Stardust Charged Warrior to be able to just draw an extra card. Not a bad combo. It gets me a lot of advantage, and I drew 5 cards off a 2-card combo, whilst pushing up 1, 2, 3 interruptions, and a hand loop for 2. Normally enough for a game, because the amount of hand traps I play, I can get more interruptions in my hand, not to mention I can see the Adventure Engine, which allows me to have an extra interruption on the board at that point. Obviously, the way I played differently before was when Baron was legal, I was able to make a Baron instead of having to go for the TG line. So this board would be the exact same, except I wouldn't have drawn the cards, but this card would be a Baron. Kind of miss it. Starting off the combo of Rite of Aramesia plus Jet Synchron, I will activate the Rite of Aramesia, placing the Fateful Adventure from the deck, and special summoning an Adventure token. Next, I will normal summon the Jet Synchron to trigger the Fateful Adventure, to be able to add a Draco back from my deck to my hand, as it's a equipped spell that lists Adventure. I'll add the Draco back. I'll then use the once per turn add effect to the Fateful Adventure to be able to add the Griffin Rider. If this part got ashed, there is a usable card I can do in this combo, where if I open up the Enchantress, I could then special summon the Enchantress, make a Herald, bring back the Jet Synchron, and then make a Junk Speeder. As an insulated combo, whilst also being able to play my hand traps, because most of the time, Fateful Adventure is the card that gets negated. But then I'll discard the Draco back. I don't have to trigger the effect to equip it, as I don't need it going first, but going second, it is an extra interruption. I'll then trigger the effect for Griffin to special summon itself. I'll use both the Griffin and the Jet Synchron to synchro summon into Axel Stardust, like I did in the first combo. Axel Stardust triggers to special summon back the Jet Synchron. If it didn't trigger, I could just discard one card from my hand to special summon back the Jet and still go full combo. I'll then go Effect of Excel, tributing itself to special summon the Stardust from the deck, from the X deck, and then synchro summon using the Jet and the Adventure token into the Junk Speeder, and again it is unaffected by card effects, activated card effects. So now I can special summon 4 tuners from my deck, being Stardust, Assault, Rev, and Jet. I also get to use the effects of the Stardust Synchron to add Stardust Elimination. And it has got me exactly into the exact same position as I had last time, having both my Synchros and all my level 4s. So the combo from here is exactly the same. I can either go for the draw cards, or there is other unique combos you can take in this route, as I always want to make the Crystal Wing first, to be able to not be hurt by any cards or effects. I can then use the Illumination, summoning the Trail from the deck. And then from here, I can go down different routes. I can use the Jet and the Trail to special summon the Axel Synchron, which will trigger the Trails effect when it is used for a synchro summon of a Stardust, Warrior, or Synchron. I can special summon one level 1 Tuner Dragon, which is quite nice, as that is also another way to make this better, as it's a non-Tuner Dragon. I'll go Effective Excel, sending a Stardust Synchron, the second copy I play, from the deck to the grave, to increase its level by 4. Put it to a level 9, which means these two cards can then be used to make Dispatter. I will then use the Stardust Synchron and the Stardust Dragon to make a Crimson Dragon. This will allow me to add Synchro Rumble, and then I can target the Dispatter and turn himself into the Clearwing Crystal Dragon. And now I have two little spots I can go down. I can use either the Synchro Rumble to special summon the Stardust Synchron, or I can use it to bring back any tuner. However, it is most likely going to be the Stardust Synchron, as I do not control a non-tuner right now for synchro summoning. And from here, because I used that elimination earlier, I can use that to banish itself, target a Stardust monster, being the Stardust Dragon, and I can increase or decrease its level. Normally here, I would make Baron de Fleur, and then carry on with the hand loop for 2, whilst keeping the entire board. However, now that I have to change up my plays due to the fact that some cards are no longer within this ban list, I can use the Illumination to either increase or decrease its level. And so there's a couple of cards I can go for. Because I have the Revolution Synchron in the graveyard, I can send my top card of my deck to my grave to special summon it back, but as a level 1 tuner. So, if I wanted, I could make a second Crystal Wing in this deck. It's funny, it does work, and they are soft once per turn. However, I can use the Illumination to target the Stardust Synchron, decrease its level, which will then allow me to make a nice way to deal with back row as well, being the Cockatrice. And now the Cockatrice will draw me a card, and it is a quick effect, discard 2 to destroy 1 card on the field, which is an extra varied interruption, which means decks like Tempai will struggle into this board if they don't have cards like Droplet. Next, as I always do, tribute the Dispatter. I guess technically it'd be better to tribute the Crystal Clearwing in case they have a Bestial type monster. Summoning back the Stardust Synchron, triggering the Trail at the same time the Assault Synchron to banish itself, bring back that Crystal Clear, as it was synchro summoned with the Crimson Dragon effect, and then special summon the Trail. Then from here, make an Omega, hand loop for 1, Disparate effect, bring it back out, then hand loop for a second one. And if we think about the fact that this was a 2-card combo, I'd have 3 more cards in my hand. I would then have the effect of the Cockatrice. I can interrupt by destroying 2 cards on the field. I have the Spend Trap Negate being the Crystal Clearwing, the Monster Negate, and then the Monster Destroy or Negate via the Dispatter, as the Omega has banished cards out of my opponent's hand. Nice varied interruptions, nice simple combos, and honestly, it's the reason I love this deck so much, is the fact that you just get to combo for days, enjoy the game, and put up so many big boards that it is very competitive when it does play. And 5D's era synchros are my favourite cards. That'll do it for this deck profile. I hope you enjoyed. I hope that if there's any questions on any other combos that you'd like, I can do videos in the future for this deck, as it is a fan favourite of mine. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed. Have a nice rest of your day. Peace.